What's up, everybody? It's Alex with Constructed Chaos here. Today we're going to be taking a look into Tasha's Cauldron of Everything once again, specifically the environmental hazards section of the book, and within that we're going to be going over the supernatural regions portion. I did have plans originally to cover the entire environmental hazards section of the book, but there are tons of crazy antics going on in there, and I didn't want to miss anything or skip over anything. I want to make sure that you guys get all the awesome information in this book. And with that said, let's get started. Before we get started, I just want to mention that I would really appreciate it if you guys subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. I know last time I asked for the same thing. I'm probably going to do it every single time. Last time we doubled from 18 subscribers all the way to 36. Can you believe that? Wow, 18 new subscribers, 18 new friends. I am so glad to have you guys along for the ride, and I can't wait to share the rest of the awesome content that is on the way with all of you. Speaking of awesome content, I think that the supernatural regions section of this book can go a long way in helping enrich the worlds that you're playing your games within. Whether you're running a homebrew campaign or something out of a book, I think that these random occurrences can really add a lot of life to your campaign setting and make your player characters feel like they're really there. That said, I think you should feel free to steal any of the ideas from this book, whether you're using a random table or not. If you see something in here that you think would apply perfectly to a certain area in your campaign setting, go ahead and use it. The book actually explicitly states that, you can trigger these things however you see fit, whether that's at the end of a 30-minute short rest or possibly the party entering this zone for the first time. Maybe you just trigger it whenever a party member activates a magical item. It's all up to you. And that's really the beauty of this entire hobby, isn't it? And the first region we're going to talk about today comes to us in the form of Blessed Radiance, which is when the grace of the upper planes touch the material planes in some way. The book suggests that you activate these abilities in a few different instances, one being when a creature makes a saving throw compelled by a fiend or undead. Another is whenever a creature succeeds in a triumph over great evil or in service to a great good in the world. It could be a good way to reward a PC for some sort of heroic act that they dish out all on their own. Another is whenever a creature is the target of a paladin or cleric's 3rd level spell or higher. This table can even be rolled on whenever a creature scores a critical hit against a fiend or undead. As for the effects themselves, they all vary in different ways, but they all link back to the solid foundation of a divine presence being with you and backing you all the way. That may come in the form of radiant healing or possibly a magical sword showing up as an ally to help you combat these fiends and undead that you're so hell-bent on destroying. This table might be great to use whenever your PCs are in a place that used to hold some great spiritual significance that has now fallen into disarray. Maybe they're fighting the throes of undead in front of a church in a graveyard that the local villagers used to pay homage to quite often. And so the great deities of the upper planes seek to reward them for their righteousness and help in undoing this great evil. Perhaps you seek to avenge a fallen unicorn in the spot where it was slain. Such a lawful good creature of great integrity would surely invoke the gods' wrath, whether it be from their booming voice that thunders from the heavens or a blessing aura that surrounds you and the rest of your party. It could help a lot for your PCs to see that the world is so much bigger than them and that they're a part of something greater. Next, often when D&D characters move on from this mortal life, they either dwell in or move through the astral plane into one of the outer planes of existence. But some end up in what we call the far realm, the plane beyond the outer planes. It is where the Illithids come from, and it is a place of true madness and soul-rending distortion. Any soul that spends a sizable amount of time in this place becomes changed forever and not for the better. However, as detailed in this section, those effects are not limited to the far realm. In many different ways, they can leak over into the material plane, and its power can be exuded in unexpected ways on unexpected individuals. Just as before, the book has some suggestions on when to activate one of these effects, such as when a warlock rolls a 1 or a 20 on a d20 die when they're making an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw. Additionally, they suggest rolling on this table whenever your characters spend a short or a long rest in an affected area, or whenever one of your player characters spends over an hour reading an eldritch tome written by someone who was in contact with or otherwise interacted with some part of the far realm. Calling the actual effects of this table neutral would be quite the understatement. In fact, these effects can either bolster or hinder the attempts of heroism by your group by some large margin, whether that be through the whispers of the illithids themselves, or the summoning of some monstrosity, the change of the landscape around you into gibbering mouths and fleshy ground. It's absolutely wild and chaotic. I'm all about it. As for situations when you might employ the use of this table, let's say maybe an illithid ship crash landed suddenly in the middle of your map where the adventurers were planning on going. Now they must venture through this far realm ridden atmosphere and be beholden to any of its ill effects. Perhaps some wild and crazy mage dove too deep into an ancient tome and your PCs were unlucky enough to pick it up and read through themselves. Heck, I could see you making an entire campaign out of a war with the illithids and their quest for domination over the material plane. This table could be a staple in your campaign world. But instead of the chaos of the far realm, perhaps the spirits never left the material plane at all, and instead they haunt the halls of your party's next adventure. Here we arrive at the haunted supernatural region and all of its effects. You might want to use this whenever multiple party members can't see, or worse, maybe one's been left alone in the dark. Maybe they gain the frightened condition and that triggers you to roll on this table. Perhaps as part of your campaign there's some otherworldly spirit that haunts a location that the party must venture into. Perhaps on their first foray into battle with the spirit, the table is triggered and some odd event happens. Maybe the clock just strikes midnight and you want to use it then. The world is your oyster. Make a pearl. Is that how the saying goes? I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to strike fear into the hearts of my player characters, but had nothing to go on. Something happened on a whim, and I thought, wow, this would be a great way to incorporate some sort of recurring issue or theme within. Perhaps the players experience a vision together and that scares them. Some of them receive the frightened condition, or maybe a vicious enemy is summoned from a coffin and sent to strike down one of the party members. Regardless, this table allows you to roll with the punches of anything that happens within your campaign session, leaving your player characters frightened and satisfied all at the same time. For similar but more creepy vibes, perhaps you want to go for the Infested table. This one, as you might have guessed from the name, is something that you might use whenever a local town is overrun by giant spiders or centipedes or any other manner of creepy crawly. The book details that such a cause of infestation could be the magical meddling in experimentation of insects, or perhaps the mass migration of these insects from one biome to another, wherein they now thrive. You might consider rolling on this table whenever some sort of web or cocoon is disturbed. Maybe the party members swat at some flies that are buzzing around their face, and that stirs a whole swarm of them to come out of the woodworks. Or maybe the adventurers are just randomly traveling to some other location, moving through a forest, and decided to stop for a short or long rest, where you can now roll on this table to see what sort of creepy crawlies come out to greet them. The results of this table are mostly harmless, and when taken by themselves won't imperil your party in any large way. However, you may seek to use this in conjunction with some other challenge that the party must face. Perhaps they're in a dark chamber fighting some drow when one of the party members steps on an egg, and now, out of nowhere, a swarm of spiders springs upon them, and now they must fight the drow and the spiders together. And you know, the more I read into this, it might be a good idea to take some of the effects off of this table, make some new tables, and have some percentage chance that when your party decides to rest in a less than desirable place, they end up with ill effects for the remainder of the day as a result. Now we have the mirror zone. As detailed in the book, a mirror zone occurs whenever planar and magical energies converge. It might happen whenever somebody is tampering with a teleportation or illusion spell and it goes horribly, horribly wrong. It might just happen whenever a player character shatters a mirror. That is bad luck after all. The effects that result are extremely mind-bending and reality warping. Occurrences such as the ability to teleport after touching a reflective object, or the ability to see places and things that are nowhere near you by looking through shards of mirrors that float all around you and then turn on you for an attack at the last second. Some effects could be fun to keep hidden from your player characters until the opportune moment, such as one particular effect that mentions the reflections of damage after dealing a blow against an enemy. You might just take that damage back in force. I see major implications from this table being able to bend reality itself and maybe even teleport the party to a place where you need them to go. This could even be a great way to start a campaign. Maybe all of your adventurers are separate whenever they're brought into a single realm of mirrors where now they must join forces and fight together to figure out what calamity it was that brought them all together in the first place. In moving through the various locations of your campaign setting, it's highly likely that your adventurers will eventually run through an area that has a strong psychic connection, whether perhaps it's just a singular room where everyone within can hear each other's thoughts and are somehow connected, or maybe your adventurers go to a place where a secret order is practicing psionics and learning the ways of the mind. These are all places where your adventurers may experience psychic resonance. Specifically, you may want to roll on this table whenever a character or creature has a strong emotional experience. Maybe they take some psychic damage or are charmed or frightened. Maybe even someone just receives a telepathic communication that pushes them over the edge and allows this psychic energy to spiral out of control. This loss of control can look like many different things, such as being able to see memories vividly in your mind without fail, a tornado of small objects rotating around you that can inflict some damage to anyone who's in the way, or possibly even a permanent increase in the intelligence of creatures in the area that may allow you to interact with them in different ways. All in all, regions of psychic resonance have a certain mystery to them and could be really fun to explore with your party, because even within their own group, these effects could stir up some inner turmoil, it could reveal some secrets, and God knows what else. Finally, the last region we have to explore is Unraveling Magic. This one takes a page right out of the book of the Wild Magic Sorcerer and throws the world into complete and utter chaos. The fabric of reality and the method by which magic is used in these areas is damaged significantly, and so the results of this table vary greatly. It would be great to use in any sort of campaign setting where some great catastrophe has occurred and permanently scarred the landscape, or possibly maybe a new awakening has happened and a wellspring of magic springs forth from a certain area. Instances you might want to use for triggering a roll on this table would be possibly the expended use of the final charge on a magic item that causes it to spiral out of control, or maybe just using a spell, possibly even the death of a great magical creature like a dragon, a fae, or an elemental, anything that can spur into motion the gears of magic, spinning too fast and possibly even breaking those gears in the location where you're in. Perhaps this singular event is what caused the whole region to be unraveling magic in the first place. As you might expect, the results of rolling on this table are completely wild and unpredictable, whether it's a flaming sphere that moves into the nearest creature space for a minute, or possibly even every creature within the region learning some manner of magic for 1d8 days. The implications are absolutely mind-blowing. How cool would it be for someone in a region that's completely devoid of magic to suddenly gain access to a single cantrip for 1d8 days? Everyone within that area would be discovering a whole new set of skills that were completely unavailable to them before. It could change the very fabric of your campaign setting in that way. Once again, I can see this table being one that you roll on quite often, as it could be the centerpiece of your campaign setting. Maybe the fabric of magic itself is damaged in your world, and maybe the adventure that your characters have set out on is one to restore the delicate balance of that magic. Whatever the case, all of these tables bring something fresh and innovative to any campaign setting. Whatever you're running, I encourage you to take a look at these tables and see what you might want to bring in, either as a random roll or just something that you find in here that's incredibly interesting. And with respect to that, do you guys want to see me go through each of these regions and detail all the different roles on the random tables? I decided not to do that because it's a lot of content and it could also ruin some of the surprise in rolling on the tables, but if that's something you guys want to see, please let me know down in the comments. Likewise, if you loved this video, please give it a like, it helps out the channel. If you hated it, go ahead and give it a dislike, I'm fine with that too. If you guys want to see more of this content, please hit subscribe, I have a lot more on the way. And if I've still got your attention, this entire channel was created out of the necessity curiosity to share the adventures that go on in our campaign, The Wrath of Zealous, that we stream weekly on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central over on Twitch. You can find that link in the description below. If you want to catch up and see any of our past episodes, we upload all those on this YouTube channel, so you can do that as well. That said, I hope to see you guys next time, and until then, go out there and make some chaos.